Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Walter, for that kind introduction. My name's Sacha Williams. I'm the Global Development Director for MetaPack, and I've put a presentation together, should take about 20-25 minutes, around the theme International Multi-Carrier to support your growth ambitions. Just quickly, do I take everybody in the audience here is interested in international, is trading international? Yeah, nods of heads, that's great. Okay. So in terms of agenda, there's a few themes that I'll touch upon, but I want to talk a little bit about history, how things have evolved from a customer point of view and also from a carrier point of view, because I think these lessons are very important when you come to look at international. We'll then talk a little bit about the complexity of international and what you need to think about when going international. And I'll pick on a couple of themes again on that point. And then we'll give you an example of what is, say, the norm today in the industry selling into a certain market, but also what is possible today if you have a multi-carrier strategy. And this should hopefully illuminate this topic. And then we'll talk a little bit about future trends with customers and carriers, and I'll leave you with some takeaways at the end of the session. So the first thing I'd like to start off with is really the evolution of what we call customer delivery. And it's characterized really by these four phases: slow, fast, convenience, and personalized. And really the message here is that in the early days of online, delivery services were quite limited. You know, they were rather slow. You tended to contract with a single carrier, normally a postal service, and it used to be a bit of a cost issue for you. Now, as customers got used to purchasing online, new services appeared, and so they wanted faster delivery. So next day was a common service that came in. And you'd probably stick with the same carrier, because the carrier would offer you that as an additional service, but you'd also perhaps choose another carrier just to add some additional contingency and to help you manage your costs. And as we've grown up over the last 4 or 5 years, a myriad of delivery options have appeared. So we have entered what I call the convenience era, where really the customer can choose from many, many delivery options from certain retailers, not all, and choose what's convenient to them in terms of delivery. And in some cases, as we move towards personalization, be able to control the whole delivery process in flight. But the important thing is here is that the customer's expectations on delivery have transformed over the last 4 to 5 years. And I would say that today we are in the era that delivery is the new loyalty. Because if you can execute delivery consistently across all options that you provide customers, then that will drive loyalty. And it's true to say now on the carrier side of the market that the carriers have responded to this challenge. And we now have a whole plethora of different carriers offering a whole range of services. I've picked a few out here just to give you some ideas of perhaps the sorts of carriers you might choose for a particular service type. But the important thing is that this is constantly evolving, constantly changing, okay? And it will continue to do so. But equally, you need to be mindful that sometimes the market, though it's dynamic, does have its challenges. So for example, CityLink were successful for a period, but actually went bust and out of business. And not long ago, or some years ago, Yodel had a similar issue and had to increase its prices. So think of this market as a market that is constantly changing in terms of innovation of new services to meet the delivery challenge. Now, when we look at international, most of retailers and brands that are trading online in the UK are really keen on the fact they see international traffic coming in, and they're responding to that traffic. In fact, customers today are really, really comfortable with shopping online through cross-border. And the reason they're doing this is really for two reasons. One, they can either not find that particular product or item here in their local market. And secondly, which is probably the key one, is price. Okay. It may be interesting to know that last year, around 12 million consumers in the UK actually purchased cross-border. So they couldn't find a product in the UK at a price that was convenient to them. Now, when you look at customers and ask them what's important on delivery, and this is true for UK and international consumers, these are the top 4 criteria, apart from I would like it free. Okay. The first one is they want to see more delivery options on the checkout page. It's not enough now to have standard delivery or next day. They want maybe same day, maybe weekends, maybe I need time deliveries, a certain slot, or a fixed delivery day. But their expectation is I need to have more choice on the checkout page. Yes, they want fast delivery because they're used to it in their domestic market, and they will be attracted to sites or retailers or brands that can offer them a faster international delivery. They also want a time slot given, because they don't really want to sit in at home all day. They need to know when that delivery will be coming, so at least they can plan and schedule their day accordingly. And increasingly, they want a guaranteed delivery date to be able to choose at the checkout which day they will get their particular items delivered. So that set of slides really is telling you 3 things. 1, customers' expectations are increasing, okay, and as a retailer or brand, you need to respond. Secondly, carriers are fulfilling these needs, and it's constantly changing and adapting. And thirdly, if you think you know the UK market really well, in terms of customer expectations and what's available, just think what that must be like when you start to go internationally. And that's really why you need a multi-carrier strategy, because you need to find a way of meeting these increasing expectations and bringing the right services to bear. Okay. So the big issue when you're going international or cross-border is really regional differences. So to give some examples, if you're selling into Spain, a lot of the population live in apartments, so having the ability to deliver to lockers that are actually in the apartment block is actually an important consideration when somebody wants to purchase from you. Okay. If you're going to, for instance, Scandinavia, pick-up and drop-off points are essential. That's the preferred means of actually receiving a parcel. If you go to Russia, you need to have really a cash-on-delivery service because the Russians still prefer that means of actually paying for products on delivery. If you go to France, we know that La Poste is the primary carrier for France, but there are some emerging carriers that are providing next day and time delivery slots. You go to the UK, we like lots of options, and you can also see other trends appearing in other countries, such as the rise of eco and environmentally friendly means of delivering items. So we see, for instance, an exhibition here today, the Mayor of London, promoting the fact that they really would like to take diesel off the streets of London and fill it with really delivery vans and that are electric based. As another general trend across Europe, there's an increase in what we call next day services appearing. So more and more carriers are able to fulfill a next day service into Europe. And we're also seeing a rise of PUDOs or pick-up drop-off points globally. They're just accelerating like a virus almost everywhere you go. And even in America, we're seeing change. With Amazon Prime being the leader, we're beginning to see carriers emerge in America now that, particularly from a last mile perspective, give you the ability to offer a premium or differentiated delivery proposition. The next 2 slides are really just to take you through the evolution of how people approach a multi-carrier strategy. They don't start out with their original websites with the idea, I need a multi-carrier strategy. It sort of evolves rather rapidly. So in this example, we've taken a retailer in the UK who started off really with a single carrier offering a 3-day service, standard delivery, I call it, moving on to a next day delivery, and then later on offering a PUDO capability, a pick-up drop-off point. Depending on the uptake of these services, in this example, they decided they would add DPD as an additional carrier, primarily for contingency, just in case UPS went wrong or went down, but equally for scalability and capability, because with peak trading coming, one of the things you need to think about is carrier capacity, and can your carriers all right, cope with the volume that you expect. And you can see that as the other services have come on board, there's a whole plethora of carriers that you can choose from, and we've graded them here really in terms of preference. And the idea behind multi-carrier is that behind the scenes, on your checkout, when a client chooses to check out and chooses a delivery option, behind the scenes, your multi-carrier solution looks through those myriad of solutions and works out which is the most cost-effective and the best one to meet the customer promise. If you take that same principle and apply it to France, okay, evolution can be very similar, but you can see here very clearly there are different carriers for different services. And so what multi-carrier does, it gives you this ability to find a single solution that can take care of working out who are the carriers that you need, ability to actually use them and add them to your website, and ability to go into market. So I said I'd tell you a little story, and I'm going to use an example, which is a Russian example. Russia seems to be back in favor now as an international market. It's worth about $26 billion online, and of that, about 26 to 29% of business is actually done through cross-border. So that's Russians actually buying online outside of Russia. And here's examples I've taken from some websites. This is Boohoo, the fast fashion retailer, who is seen as really a pioneer and leader and doing all the right things. They only have a single delivery option. You can see it's pretty slow, depending on where you are in the country, and it's a fixed price. It's they charge 400 rubles for your package. If I go to Misguided, same sector, fast fashion, Manchester-based, similar proposition. Here, again, it's slow, but what it's telling the customer is it might be there in 3 days, it might be in 11 days, we don't really know. That's what it's really saying. And it also tells you that there's a fixed price of 20 euros, which for a Russian would have to actually sit down and work out exactly what that means in rubles. And very small writing, they actually say they will give you free delivery if you order over 160. Here's another one, Harrods, sort of getting there a little bit, but they quote 6 to 10 days, but is that business days, working days, calendar days? Who knows? And again, they give you a fixed price for delivery. Now, I did say, what is possible today with a multi-carrier solution if I was selling into Russia? And here's an example. Okay? So at checkout, I can present you with here 4 options. Yes, I get my standard delivery. Yes, it's localized in local currency. Yes, I get free shipping if I order over a certain amount. I got an express delivery option here, so I can get it faster in 2 to 3 days if I'm willing to pay a little bit more. I can collect it from a parcel shop locally where I may be working rather than have to be at home. Or I can do what's called cash on card delivery, because I did mention that cash on delivery is an important factor. So these things will differentiate your brand, your online proposition, and they will give confidence to the consumer in country to buy from you. And I did mention that delivery is the new form of loyalty, and this is what will drive that loyalty and preference for your brand as opposed to somebody else's. So I've taken an example here of one of our clients, one of our larger clients, to show you what their sort of multi-channel solution or proposition looks like. The things I'd like to mention here, first of all, this did not happen overnight. This has evolved over a period of time. The second thing is that they are very focused on local last mile services in country, because they want to make sure that the delivery experience in the country reflects the delivery experience that those consumers would expect from a domestic seller. And the other thing is this is constantly changing. They will be adding new countries and new markets to it, but they will also be refining the carriers that they use in country. Some will drop out, some will be added in. But the main message is that they have got to the point where they have seen delivery as part of their overall proposition. They say they make it an intrinsic part of why you buy from them as a brand. They make it super easy, super convenient, and they try to build loyalty by making sure that your experience is a bit like the previous example, one that you're used to and have come to expect. So where are we going in terms of future carrier and customer trends? I already mentioned that eco and environmental concerns are high on the agenda with a lot of people, and you only got to look really at things like the Blue Planet documentary, even the documentary on Monday, Stacey Dooley one's about fashion's dirty secrets, to see that the environmental concerns are becoming more and more important. Okay. Here you can see local last mile carriers in urban locations and cities introducing electric vehicles, introducing other means of actually getting those products to you. We see Clipper, for instance, doing a consolidation in Regent Street for the various retailers there so that we can take trucks off the road and reduce the amount of diesel pollution there is. But we had a survey and we asked people, would you actually prefer, if you had a green option, would you choose it? And what was interesting is that 85% of people that said they were interested in a green option said they were happy to have an item delivered later than faster. So they didn't necessarily need it quicker, they'd be quite happy to wait a while to get it through a greener option. So the race to customer convenience by being quicker and faster is not necessarily always the answer, but it's about listening to customers and responding. Now, I don't know how it's going to work out here in the UK, but every major city and every major market has this on their agenda. And there are going to be carriers that are going to win that last mile and actually achieve that service. And you could be safe that if you had a multi-carrier solution, you could, right? You don't have to worry, you can take advantage of that as it becomes clearer, as those options become. So some key takeaways. I mentioned that even in the UK market, it's complex. So international is complex. So if you are really serious about growing business internationally, you do have to have a multi-carrier strategy at the heart of it. Trying to do it any other way, building it yourself, supporting it, managing it, integrating with carriers, is just not practical these days. So to give you an example, ASOS, which has about 1,000 people in IT, never decided to build a multi-carrier solution, gave it to a third party to do. Secondly, you need agility, speed to market. A multi-carrier strategy gives you the ability to test and launch into markets very quickly, and also to adapt to those markets as you understand what customers' expectations are. It gives you business continuity. We've seen that already this year with the Beast from the East. We'll see it through peak trading. It gives you the ability that you can add carriers, capacity, and also know that if a carrier is not doing the job that you want, you can switch quickly to an alternative carrier. Because at the end of the day, the customer just wants a consistent delivery experience, and that's what drives the loyalty side. Okay. 3 or 4 things to think about. If you've got a website today, please think about improving the range of delivery options that you provide to customers. This will drive conversion, it will drive down cart abandonment, and it will improve loyalty. We've seen it with a lot of customers, and we're quite happy to share that data with you. On track and trace, most track and trace is passing the tracking information out to the carrier, so the customer moves from your branded experience to the experience of the carrier. You should think about bringing that back under your control and thinking about how can I take all of those carriers' track and trace codes, normalize them, and actually give a consistent experience on my site in terms of where that particular package is. Not just here in the UK, but internationally. And the other thing is really intelligence. As you gather data and analysis, you begin to understand which carriers are good at which services in which areas, down to, say here in the UK, postcode level. So you can adapt your multi-carrier strategy to meet not only the needs of your customer, to make sure you're delivering against your service levels. And don't forget that with a multi-carrier, you can, for those organizations that don't traditionally have a warehouse, but really have retail outlets, you can use it as a ship-from-store model as well, either shipping from store to store or from a particular store to the customer. And that can actually address the speed issue and the convenience, and actually keep down some of the emissions issues. And then finally, yes, we have carriers that allow you to do in-flight changes, And you should be thinking about giving that capability to your customers, not just here in the UK, but internationally as well, because that's what they're really expecting. Okay. So look, if you've enjoyed that presentation, it sort of piqued your interest, we are running next Thursday in London a breakfast roundtable, and if you would like to come along to that and partake and share your experiences with a peer group, and we will also provide you with an analysis of your own propositions against what we call best in class. Please come and see me afterwards, and we'll see if we can register you for that. Okay, thank you very much.